Today, we're digging into a really interesting, kind of counterintuitive growth strategy from the insurance disruptor Lemonade. We're going to look at what their CEO said recently and uncover why they think chasing actual profit dollars is way smarter than chasing percentage margins. Let's jump right in.
Okay, let me ask you something. If you had to pick just one metric to judge how well an insurance company is doing, what would you pick? Most people would probably say the loss ratio, or maybe profit margins. But it turns out Lemonade has a totally different North Star.
And there it is, straight from the CEO himself. The one thing they are laser focused on is maximizing gross profit dollars. Not percentages, not ratios, just the raw, absolute amount of cash they're bringing in. This single quote is the key to their entire philosophy, and honestly, it turns a lot of traditional thinking on its head.
So let's break this down, this whole dollars over percentages idea. It's a very deliberate choice to care more about the total amount of money you make than how efficiently you make it. I know it sounds a little backward at first, but stick with me because there's a really compelling logic at play here.
Think about the old-school insurance playbook. It's all about maximizing those gross margin percentages and keeping your loss ratios as low as humanly possible. Lemonade just flips that script. They're focused on the total pile of cash, the gross profit dollars, and they're totally willing to accept thinner margins if it means getting massive growth and, in the end, a much bigger pile of cash.
So how does this trade actually work? Well, you can think of it as a four-step process. First, you strategically lower your prices to get a ton of people in the door. Second, you have to accept that your margins are going to be a bit slimmer. But, and this is the key, that price drop creates a huge outsized boost in revenue. The result? You get a smaller slice of a much bigger pie, which adds up to way more profit in dollars. The CEO calls this non-monotonic, a fancy way of saying that sometimes a higher loss ratio can paradoxically lead to higher gross profit. And they are not messing around with this. This quote really just hammers home how committed they are. This isn't some temporary tactic. It's a core belief. They will make this trade, sacrificing percentage points for absolute dollars every single time. 10 times out of 10.
Okay, so that's the theory. Sounds great on paper, right? But does it actually work in practice? Let's take a look at the Q3 scorecard and see how this philosophy is translating into real, hard numbers.
First off, their top-line growth is just exploding. Their in-force premium, that's the total value of all their policies, hit $1.16 billion. This is that outsized growth part of the strategy in action. And get this, it's the 8th quarter in a row of accelerating growth.
And here's more fuel for that fire. Revenue is up a whopping 42% compared to this time last year. So yeah, that strategy of using competitive pricing to supercharge growth, it is clearly paying off. The engine is definitely humming.
Now here's where things get really fascinating. You would think a strategy that's okay with higher loss ratios would, lead to higher loss ratios. But in Q3, Lemonade posted a company-wide gross loss ratio of 62%, which is their lowest ever. The CEO is quick to say that while this is a thrill, it's not actually what they're trying to solve for. It just proves their underlying business is strong, but they are still ready to let this number climb if it means maximizing those all-important profit dollars.
So what gives them the confidence to make these kinds of trade-offs? I mean, how can they grow so incredibly fast while still keeping things under control? The answer, really, is their AI-first foundation. That's the engine that's driving all these numbers.
To really understand their AI advantage, we need to talk about something called operating leverage. It's a super powerful concept. It's the ability to make your revenue skyrocket while your day-to-day costs, like salaries and office space, barely even budge. It's pretty much the holy grail for any business, and it looks like Lemonade is actually achieving it.
Just look at this. It's incredible. Over the past 2 years, gross profit shot up 261%. In that same period, their underlying expenses grew by only single digits. That massive gap you see between the bars, that is operating leverage in action. It's exactly what the CEO calls the hallmark of an AI-first company.
Let's make this even more real by zeroing in on a specific product where this whole strategy just comes together beautifully, Lemonade Car. It is a perfect case study.
This is absolutely transformative. In Q3, over half of their new Lemonade Car customers were already existing Lemonade customers. They call this CAC-less acquisition. CAC stands for Customer Acquisition Cost. It means they're getting new car customers, more than half of them, basically for free. This completely changes the economics of the business.
And the results really speak for themselves. 40% growth. The loss ratio improved by a huge 16 points year on year, and it's running at a healthy 76% overall. You can see the whole model working in harmony here. The AI platform makes cross-selling easy, which lowers their costs, which in turn fuels the whole dollars over percentages strategy.
So we've got the philosophy, we've got the AI engine, and we've got the results. Let's tie all of this together and look at the end game. Where is all this momentum actually heading?
This timeline lays it out perfectly. Gross profit is up 261% over the last 2 years. Just this past quarter, it more than doubled to $18 million. And looking forward, the company is on a steady, clear path to reach EBITDA profitability, a key measure of cash flow, by the end of next year. The trajectory is undeniable.
So, the single most important takeaway here is this. Lemonade's AI fundamentally rewires the financial structure of an insurance company. It takes what used to be variable costs, like having to hire more and more people as you get more customers, and it turns them into predictable, fixed costs. That right there is the secret sauce that makes this entire strategy possible.
Lemonade is really demonstrating how a company built as an AI native from the ground up can create an economic engine that legacy players just struggled to compete with. And it leaves us with a really big question. If this model can reshape a centuries-old industry like insurance, which industry is next? Thanks for watching.